Good afternoon. This is a demonstration of the ScreenScraper application with a user interface that's been created in Visual Studio 2010, Microsoft Silverlight version 5.0. And basically what it's going to be able to show us here, the language is C#. So what it's going to be able to show us is how we can automate the process of requesting information from any website in batches, as well as compiling it into different objects that can be outputted for different purposes. So if you consider the fact that you have a bunch of different websites that you need to interact with, and you want to automate the process of looking up information and then be able to compile it in different ways so you can analyze it, this is exactly what it does. So let's take a look here. Here's a list of names that I have here. I'm going to put into this text box, and basically each one of these names represents a web search that I would have to do in this one particular trademarked website that will produce results relating to whether the name has been trademarked or not. Now if I had to do this manually, I had to go through each one of these different requests and submit it back to the server, which is represented here, basically using their web page. And then I'd have to, as you can envision, take a look at the web page and either copy and paste information into an Excel sheet or maybe a text file or something else along those lines. Basically what this is going to do is, using this list, when I click run, it's going to take for my server or my PC represented here, submit the request across the wire here, go to their server. Once it hits their server, it's going to take the HTML response, the web page, and send back that result back to me. You're going to see each monitor turn green and the wire submit a green pulse back and forth, showing you basically what's going on. This is all triggered through C# code in different events. So as I actually change my transaction and it's configuring it, then it's going to submit it. It's actually using that event. It's going to submit the information back in real time to their server and visualize it. And the same thing here, once a response comes back, it's actually going to present a green image here and send a green pulse back to me. So it's a neat little animation that helps with the usability of the program. I think it's a little bit more pleasing to interact with it, and something that's very easy to create in Silverlight. It took me a couple of hours to create it, and I think it adds to the overall user experience. So anybody looking for something like Silverlight and wondering what type of capabilities they have animation abilities like this, and this is again very basic, but it's something that can again add to your overall experience. So let's click run here and take a look. So as the transactions go across, I can see I've submitted these types of number of transactions already. Here's my progress bar and the different transactions it's on, and you can see as my monitor here turns green and submits the pulse across, here goes a request over to the server, and envision you actually submitting those to the machine and getting the HTML response, then interacting with it and copying information back to your machine. So this is all happening again in real time, and it's a real animation of what's going back and forth between my machine and their machine. Again, it's not just an animation showing that the monitors are turning green. It's actually showing requests and responses going back and forth, which is a neat little thing to be able to do with today's advanced technology. So I'm getting back to the 24th one. You can see now 25, there we go, and it's back. It's going to compile all my results from the HTML responses and display them in this grid. So here's my grid. It's going to be a listing of different names that I have here. These names relate back to the names that I put it in this list, and now I can inspect it. I've created a custom report in code that you can create any type of report that you want. This one just lists the name and a count of hits that came back based upon those responses. So if I can inspect it here, here's the HTML response, and this is, I would have had to go in and put this information from Mass Effect, click submit, and get this response back, and then either copy this and paste it into Excel along with the name. So you can imagine how time consuming it is as the number increases here. And just to validate the data, you can see that everything does kind of link up here. So the code was, again, it's completely customizable, so you can retrieve any type of information you want and then compile it in any fashion using original request information, predefined information, as well as the response, enabling you to have a lot of flexibility to be able to output and analyze information in the fashion that you want. So you can see all the different records that we have here. Now this is, again, is a user interface. When the ScreenScraper code base in itself, you can run the ScreenScraper code without an operator, implement it in like a console application that can be scheduled, let's just say daily. Let's say that each day you want to be able to go out and get a listing of information from different websites output the results to a file that can be put into a relational database. Let's say, for instance, that you had a list of different vendors, and each vendor had different websites, and each vendor also had a different number of orders or trouble tickets that can be submitted. Well, if you had a listing of all the order numbers here, you could submit it back to their servers, download the responses, output it into files like here that can be put into your relational databases. The implications are your company's a lot more efficient and effective because no longer do you have to worry about your workforce actually updating this information. It's all automatically being done. Your workforce can focus on more customer value added activities. In addition, by taking this data and analyzing it, you can get a lot of information related back to capacity planning. Okay, maybe you have an order and this particular type of order is always an error status. Well, automating the retrieval of such information will yield you that ability, or put you in the position to be able to analyze that situation and say, hey, look, we need more training here. Or maybe it's just the fact that you've got live, up-to-date information. If you can go out to your partners' websites, retrieve that information automatically, and then update your own systems, well, maybe you've got a customer portal that's built on top of it, and you can analyze, the customer can go in and see where their order's at. It's completely hands-off, they don't have to worry about it. So as you can see, you become a lot more efficient and effective at tackling problems, because rather than having you to manually request information, you can receive it and consume it in a variety of different ways, making you a lot more competitive in today's marketplace. So again, this was just a user interface example of how you can use such ScreenScraper code that applies to many companies today. And I just wanted to show you a demonstration of how it could be implemented in something like Microsoft Silverlight, which could be deployed out of the box to operating systems like Microsoft's Windows operating system, as well as Apple's OS X. Thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good day.